Hello, this is the Canon Academy Homeschool. I am a homeschool grandmother. My name is Phonics Cards, and today I'm going to go over how to teach your child to read, showing you some of the things that I have used over the years that work for all the children that I have taught. Now granted, some children spend their entire lives not liking to read. Eventually they will find an article or something that they'll read, and then you need to latch onto that and go with it as far as making sure that they do understand what they're reading. So the first thing I do when I start off reading, of course, is to teach the ABCs. And I also teach the letter sounds. So we would work on knowing the letters, and once I'm sure that they know that and everything, then we start working on the letter sounds, each individually, knowing that the vowels each make two sounds, a long sound and a short sound. So with that regards, I would use different types of flashcards. And these are the ones that I like to use. Here. They are phonics cards, and each one gives you at least two different words and pictures that you can do. Then on the back, for the parent or teacher, it has words that would help you sound out that letter. Another set that I like to use, and I'm not really sure where I've gotten these. Most of these I've gotten at yard sales and things like that. This particular set came with ABC cards with the capital letters or uppercase on one side and the lowercase or small letters on the other side. And this is good because when your children first start learning to write their letters, they can copy these. Also, you can give them bingo chips and things and call out a letter and have them place it on the letter that they see. That being said, this set comes with two cards for each vowel. The short one for apple and the long one for angel as far as the letter A. Then on the back sides, it gives you the capital and the lowercase. On your consonants, you'll get a picture, sometimes two, and again on the back, each one has a version, uppercase or lowercase. And we would go over these, and what I do after a while, after I know that the children are familiar with them, is the one who calls it out. And if I have more than two children, I'll call them by name to guess the letter and the sound. And if they do it correctly, they get that card. And then I tell them the object is not to beat the other child that might be learning, but to beat themselves, to get more cards each time that they work with me. Then I came across these cards, which have various different colors, different objects in them. You get the word for the color, you get the word for the object. This one has textures on some of the cards. On the back it has questions to ask, and it also gives you different ways to say the color word in different languages. And I did not get that whole set out. Then to prepare for actual reading, I take these little photo albums that you can get at like Dollar Tree, and I have taken the little lined cards for sentences, and in this case some of these were already printed for me, the ones that have the bowler type, and the ones that are not quite so bold are my cards. For instance, with the colors, I color over them. The child learns to associate what that color is with the letters and the words and the sound of the words, and we go over the letters and the sound. For instance, I would say red, R-E-D, red, red, red. And we would do this at least 2 or 3 times a week. It takes 5 minutes. When we get into some of our storybooks, I take index cards and do my own word cards with all the words in the story. As they get older, you can just add on to the new words in the vocabulary. So, for instance, these words are from my Little Red storybook. We have Tom, and I would go capital T-O-M, Tom. Tom. Tom is capitalized with an uppercase T because it's a name. Then I would do the word ride, and this is lowercase. And because I know later in the story it's going to have a capital R, and for some reason when children start out, that confuses them. So I would capitalize it again. And I do this. Then we would go to our story. Now I have several different ways that we do stories. These are books like I learned to read, and I taught my 2 oldest children to read from. They're wholesome, they're simple. Here's an example of a page. This would have been a 1st grade reader. There are 3 of these, and then you move on to the primer and to the pre-primer and the primer. Now, with my daughter and the granddaughters and a couple of nieces and a cousin, I got my hands on these Watch Me Read books, Invitations to Literacy by Houghton Mifflin. You can still find these on eBay and stuff. I was lucky enough to have an uncle who helped me get the first set. And then thinking I was through, I sold them. And then when I got the next batch of great nieces and nephews, I decided I wanted these books back again. Now this is a kindergarten level book, and it's actually the 4th one in the set. And as you can see, it has a few words, and it also has symbols that you would put in. And as they go along, there are less symbols and more words. This is from the same series, but it is a 1st grade 4th book. I'm going to show you the difference in that. You can see there are more sentences. Now, there are a lot of interesting stories in that. It teaches children how to share, how to get along with each other, the differences in children and things. Then I also got my hands on several Scholastic books. I have marked this one on spiders as kindergarten to 1st grade. And that's because the words are big, the sentences are simple. But yet it still holds interest even for a struggling 2nd grader, I would think. And I have several of those, like oceans and things like that. Now, that being said, one more. I went to a Christie's auction for educational store that was going out of business, and I got some of these. Now, unfortunately, I am missing some of the letters because they were not whole sets. But they are still great. This is the letter Z. It shows capital Z, lowercase. It gives you arrows and how to make them, and tells you that. Then it gives you different words for that letter and sentences to go with it. And even your smallest child can learn to read. This is one of my favorite books, my Little Word Book. You can start reading this to your child as soon as they can sit on your lap. And then as they get older, they will help you point out what the words are and things, and learn what the word toe looks like, and the word head, and nose, and things like that. It has a lot of different words that they would use over their lifetime. Now to the other readers that I have, the other ways of reading. Sorry. Okay. I have the Dick and Jane Reader, which is a book that a lot of other, full of stories that a lot of other children learn to read from. And it starts out, oops, I forgot I had word cards in it. It starts out really simple, and it builds on it until you have whole paragraphs in the stories. And just to show you what I do, like I mentioned before, if you don't want to use the photo books, you can do these and make your own little word cards, and you hold them up, spell them, say the letters, the sounds of the letters, and then sound out the words, and just do that every day before you read the story, and the children will eventually learn those. Yes, some of that is memorization, which is fine in my book, because the more words they memorize, the better they will be able to, along with the sounds that they're learning, sound out a new word using all of that information. So here's another reader. This is a first grade reader, and it's Houghton Mifflin. It's quite up to date. As you can see, the sentences start out simple, and you work your way up to paragraphs. And it's very colorful. A variety of stories. Now, my mom had gotten me one of the older sets of Hooked on Phonics. And my daughter and my granddaughters were learning to read, and a niece. It was for, like, I would say, like, probably 3rd through at least 8th grade, if not higher. The print gets smaller, there's more in the text, more questions and things like that as they get older. Then I turned around and got another set off of eBay for the younger kids, for like kindergarten through 3rd. And what I did was I went through the booklet they had, because there's a booklet for each set of books they give you, and I put it in a binder. And what I did was I wrote down all the different stories and how many pages there were and stuff, and then the books that would go with it. These are actually the stories that were in the booklet itself. These are separate books. From there, I made copies of the review stories and did them as wipe-off pages, because they're not colorful. Children like colors, so sometimes I let them color them. But even the 2- and 4-year-old I have now can read the first 2 stories. Now, I haven't had them for a few months, so they may have forgotten them, but when I get them back, we will go over that again. And then I made these little houses to show that these are word families. And we are learning from these also. So, again, it doesn't cost a lot to teach your children how to read. The library's there. They have the Bob books. They have a lot of phonics books and things like that. Use them. Shop used as much as you can to save money. Once Upon a Child, Goodwill, eBay, Amazon, yard sales. Make your own with index cards or whatever you have on hand. Feel free to ask questions. If you like this video, please like it and subscribe below. Share it with your friends. And I thank you very much. Have a good day and happy reading.